universe. Happy Pisces new moon, everyone. Hi, Alexis.
Hello,
How are you?
hello. I am trucking along, doing the best I can. I of course we always have these pre-chat chats before the dream chat. And I was just explaining that I just have been off this whole week. I've been so off. And you know what's interesting actually now that we're sitting here talking about it, I completely forgot that my Saturn return went exact on Saturday. Um so I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of that, a little bit of the new moon coming tomorrow, a little bit of just the collective conscious being crazy right now. But yeah, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the same wavelength. And, I'm not I'm annoyed, but I'm actually not surprised because before Pisces season even started, I kept getting this feeling and this insight of just the Eight of Cups energy. I literally saw it today in my
Mm. Oh
tarot reading.
wow.
And it was just like, and I think I spoke about this in the last podcast, like the last episode, where this first part, like the first 10 days of Pisces season, which we're getting very close. I think maybe like 3 more days to be exact with that. But the
Mhm.
first 10 days in the first 10 degrees of Pisces season corresponds to the Eight of Cups, which is also Saturn in Pisces. It just so happens to be that astrological or yeah, astrological correspondence there.
Yep.
And if any of you are familiar with the Eight of Cups, it is kind of like this kind of somber type, like melancholy, moving on, which is kind of how I've been feeling. Where I was telling Alexis when we started chatting before we went live, is that at the surface, I feel like this like frustration, this sadness, just like so many not feel good emotions. But on the deeper levels, I'm really excited and I have inspiration and I feel good. And I feel like that's a bit of that Eight of Cups energy where it's like, yeah, you're walking away from, these eight cups, so to speak, which kind of represent different things in your life and different emotions, and you're feeling all of that, and at the same time you're excited for the journey ahead. And that's literally how I'm feeling. So yeah, it's like right on spot with the energy that I was picking up on. So this is where we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready for it to kind of alleviate a little bit. It feels very heavy to me. I'm sure it feels heavy on your end. There's just a lot going on. Feels like a lot's happening. And I'm not surprised because this is like the time of the year every year I feel like something is occurring that's kind of like uncomfortable. But I am ready to move through it,
Yeah.
period.
And we shall.
Yes, we
And
will.
so if there is anyone here watching us live, feel free to say hello in the chat. Let us know how your dream space has been for the past month. I hope that you're on a higher vibrational plane than we are, and like share some of that energy and that light with us. It would be
Yes,
so amazing because
please.
I know after this chat that we're going to feel a boost of like lightness and some energy there, at least to carry into the dream space tonight, hopefully.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, we're really excited to be here, even when we're in these kind of moods. Just coming together and talking about dreams always like lifts our spirit. By the end of it, we're like, yes, I'm so glad like we showed up. Not that it was a question, but just, it can be easy to let the emotions take over you and you not show up and you just kind of, lay in bed, which is totally okay.
Yeah.
Um, but here we are.
Yeah, I just like you were saying before that like creativity and that inspiration, it's like deep in there, like deep in the depths. And like I am also a little annoyed that I don't have like the corresponding energy to pull that out and use it right now.
Yeah.
It's
And
almost like
I
it's
feel,
brewing.
yeah. Yeah. And I feel that that's purposeful and for
It
what
is.
in whatever way, like it's very meaningful, because I feel the same exact way. And I'm sure some of you listening are feeling this as well. So you're not alone. And the collective consciousness has been very like the veil is thin, right? We're feeling everyone's everything, which is totally Pisces season. The dreams are blending, and we'll be talking about that tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really excited. And Christopher's here. Christopher has entered the chat, says hello. So thank you for being here, Christopher. Thank you for saying hello. And yeah, so what we're going to be talking about tonight, as we do, or as we have been doing for the past, like, I think 3 months now. This might be the third or fourth month that we've done
I
this.
think it is, yeah.
Yeah. And so right around the new moon, we have these dark moon reflection chats, which basically Alexis and I, and we also invite you all watching and listening to the replay, we share how our dream space has been over the past month. And we reflect all the way back to basically, it's from new moon to new moon. So we're reflecting back to January 29th, which was the Aquarius new moon, right? So we are in Pisces season, and we are closing up Aquarius's lunar cycle, right? So the new moon is actually early in the morning on February 27th. And so we're still in this dark moon of, I think the moon is still in Aquarius actually right now too. So that's kind of cool. So we are in the place in which the cycle began, which is like dark moon and dark moon. So I'm really excited. And I'm just double checking to make sure. Yes, 26 degrees of Aquarius. So
Yep.
moon is present with Pluto, and then we're going to have a new moon that will be present with Neptune. So there's going to be a different dynamic in the shifts of how the lunar cycles are experienced and how the energy is just felt. And we're going to be freaking feeling it. And yeah, so I mean, where should we even start? How was let's start with you. How was your dream space over the past 28 days or so?
It has been quite interesting. It started off really strong and really clear for like the first half. And then I wrote my last dream on the 12th. Since then, I've been having extremely busy dreams, and I've been equally as busy waking up, to the point where like they're in my brain and I'm like going back to it throughout the day, but I'm not able to translate it. And it's been
Mm.
really frustrating, especially with having such a strong start, um, to just go back to, only being able to see it in my brain and not actually voice it. It's frustrating. But I am pretty proud of myself for the first 12 days of February, writing all of my dreams down. That's been keeping that balance. Like, yeah, well, you didn't keep up with it this last half, but the first half you did really, really good. And like, I even am like kind of still going through the dreams I didn't write down, and like different aspects of it that have stuck out. There was the other day I had this dumbest like dream where um I was sitting in a room that was attached to a classroom, and this like teacher was teaching the class, and I'm in another room, but I'm looking in, and the room I'm in is dark, and there's a police officer next to the teacher. The kids' backs are to me, so they can't see me, but the teacher can see me. And like out of nowhere, I just am like at the teacher.
So just for you guys listening, she does the
Describe that.
V to her lips and sticks her tongue between the V for, the sexual
Yes.
act there. So
Yes.
just
Just
how to
and
describe that.
the teacher starts like getting upset and looks at the police officer and explains what happens, and the police officer's like walking back to me kind of like giggling because he thought it was funny. And we made like quick banter, and I said I wouldn't do it again, and then that was my dream. And it was like so quick, it was so stupid, it was so random. I don't know where it came from. It made me laugh for sure, but I just like I have no idea. It's the last half of this month has been so weird with my dreams.
Yeah.
Like I can't explain it. The first half, like I said, I have plenty of dreams, and when we get to it, like I'd like to share one of them. But that's how I've been. How has your dream space been?
Yeah. I want to just say though, it's interesting when we think of just the saying that all dreams have meaning, like they're all meaningful. So I would love to. I feel like with that dream, it might be like, oh, we'll see what happens later, and if that dream has some sort of significance in a bit. But I would just love to kind of deep dive into like what the meaning of
Oh,
that dream was, because
first of
that
all,
is, yeah.
if anybody knows me, I'm extremely defiant. Like, I am not
Hmm.
a rule follower. I am a rule breaker on purpose. My whole motto is like, uh, it's not illegal if you don't get caught. Like, I'm so defiant. It's like probably a problem. Like, nothing to hurt anybody, but just like, I can't be told what to do. I have a really hard time with that. And I
Yeah.
like, then with like my luteal phase, I would just had entered my luteal phase where I was still in my ovulation phase. Like, I feel like there was this like slight anger and frustration of feeling kind of like not in control of myself.
Hmm.
And then that like defiantness coming out and being playful even though it's inappropriate and wrong. And then this other part of me coming out and being like high five at the end. I don't know. It was I can kind of like interpret how I was feeling, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like
It's like an inside joke with you and your inner self, basically,
yes, it's so
especially
dumb.
with the high five.
Yes.
That's great. I
Because I
love
feel
that.
like if I think about myself, like I feel like there's a part of myself that's very defiant and a part of myself that has to
Mhm.
police what I do. So it's
Yeah,
like
that's a
it's
good point.
like haha that was funny, don't do it again, but like great job. Like
Right? Yes, I love that. See, that's a perfect, yeah, like there's meaning in everything.
there really is. Tell me about your
So,
dream space,
yeah, my
please.
dream space started out slow as far as recording my dreams. And I feel that my dream recall was kind of weak too in the beginning. Like I just glanced in my dream journal. I wrote a dream or two on the day of the new moon, which is January 29th, and then the day after, which was, or no, not even the day after. So the next dream was February 1st. And then the next dream after that was like the 16th. And
Mhm.
so there was still a struggle with recording my dreams. And after, I would say about mid-February, which makes sense because that's like 10 days ago, like I was writing every day. It was so easy. I don't know. It was just like something shifted. And I also experienced a few precognitive type experiences with my dreams, like little random thing. Well, one thing is big, which we'll share here in a bit. And then I had some news about my grandfather, which, well, actually, it was something I already knew because he has to get heart surgery, and he's like 83, just for context. And most people hear me here talking about my grandmother. This is my grandmother's, well, ex-husband. They weren't divorced when she transitioned, but anyways, I had learned something about my grandmother in reference to right before she transitioned. And basically, she was really accepting of her, like she was ready to transition. And she just wanted to say goodbye to all her kids. And she also had instructed my mother to wow, to whereas my mind is going a million miles a minute. She wanted her to throw a goodbye party. So my grandmother wanted everyone there that she cared about to have just like one last party. And then she died like 2 or 3 days later, which I didn't remember that. I didn't really like, again, even though I was 19, 18 or 19, my mom, like I was very, like we were like, don't ask, don't tell with a lot of stuff. My mom is not really an open, emotionally available person. And so I had no idea what's going on. I had no idea of this. I don't even remember being at the party. I know I was at the party, but I don't remember because I blocked out a lot. But,
Mhm.
anyways, the point is with all of this is that I carried a lot of guilt um, for not being at the hospice center when the day my grandmother transitioned. I just couldn't go. I could not like say goodbye in that way. Um, and so when my mother told me that she had this party, and that was the goodbye. And I knew I was there. I felt like this whole weight lifted. And at the same time, like I was, we're going through what's happening with my grandfather. And I was good. I felt really good when I went to bed. However, something there triggered something in my emotional body. Maybe there was something that was repressed. And I was literally talking about this earlier with a friend, that the body literally keeps the score, right? So we might block things out. We might feel like we even healed something, or something might be repressed. And it could be like a conversation that triggers that repressed experience, memory, trauma. And for me, that came forth in my dreams, where I still, even this morning, I had an anxious dream. It didn't hit me as heavy, but like this was maybe like a little bit less than a week ago. And every night I've been having anxious dreams. And that very first night I woke up with an anxiety attack, right? And I had to calm myself down. And then I had same thing happen a few nights ago. And so my dream space basically took a turn. And what's really interesting though is that even though I'm having anxious dreams, from doing the dream work, as long as I've been doing consistently, they don't hit as heavy.
Yeah.
And I feel very confident and stronger. It still doesn't feel good, especially when you wake up with a borderline panic attack
Yeah.
and you have to calm yourself down. But I know that I literally talk to what I feel is like my inner child when I wake up in those moments. And I'm like, you're safe, you're good. I take really deep breaths. And like within a couple minutes, I'm like breathing normally. My heartbeat slows down and everything. But it's crazy,
It is.
And so that's kind of how my dream space has been. I've been having really, really profound dreams though. Like, I mean, there's like deep messages in pretty much every dream, even though it's anxious. And so, yeah. And so that's where I'm at with my dream space. Um, Richard's here. Richard says, hey, we're here. Peace and love, everyone. Dreams been wildin'. Yes, they have been. And so Christopher and Richard, since you're in the chat, feel free to share with us. Like, I know, Richard, you said your dreams have been wild. And if you want to get specific, feel free to get specific. And I want to remind you guys that you can always share your dreams in detail with us, like privately if you want to, or if you want us to share and you want to discuss it with us here, like you can just let us know when you share your dream with us. But you can email us your dream at the Interverse podcast at
Yep.
Gmail. Yes. Why am I on the
It's
Interverse podcast
confusing.
at Gmail? Right. We have so many different things going
Yes.
on. Or you can, send us a message on our Instagram at the Interverse podcast, or no, Journey Through the
That
Interverse.
one's Journey Through
So
the Universe. No,
you
no, no.
guys,
It's
please
so
bear with
weird
me.
because it's when we made our
It's our whole
podcast,
name. Yeah.
there was already a podcast called The Interverse, so that was taken, but the email wasn't taken, but the email for Journey Through the Universe was
That was
taken. It
so
was
weird.
so
I'm like,
weird. It
how
was
is
so
this? Yeah.
annoying, but we're good. We're good. And
Yeah. So you'll
alternatively, if
find
you
us.
don't want to send us an email or anything in that like realm, like if you would prefer for it to be more of a face-to-face experience, we do have our dream circle every Tuesday at 8 p.m. We're accepting donations. Our request is like $10, but you can get in for as little as $1, and you can share your dreams, talk about how your dream space has been, and kind of just be involved in like a more face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
Which is, I highly recommend it. The one we did
So
last was
nice.
just so incredible, and yeah, we highly recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really amazing. All right. So before we get into the dream sharing, I do want to share and this is so brief, but I want to make sure I talk about this. Dream transits. So on our Instagram, we're going to be posting the dream transits for the week. And really, Pisces season, the whole season, as we know, is a dream transit. It's a whole
Absolutely.
experience. And what I love about this new moon, which has been happening with the new moons for pretty much almost 14 years. I want to say, and don't quote me, but this might be the last new moon in Pisces that is co-present with Neptune in Pisces, because Neptune is going to move into Aries.
That's
Now, Neptune is going
right.
to move back into Pisces, but I don't know when, like, if it's going to have another like new moon with, like, if it's still going to be in Pisces when we have like next year at this time, right? So we'll see. And I'll report back next week, hopefully, if I remember. But
Ooh.
nonetheless, this is a big deal. Not only do we have Neptune and Pisces with this new moon, but we also have Mercury, we have Saturn, we have the North Node. So this is the last time we're going to have North Node, Neptune, and the new moon in Pisces. And so really pay attention to your dreams this whole entire lunar cycle, because that is setting
Mm-hmm.
the tone for the lunar season. And with the new moon, as far as like how it can influence our dream space, is that this is a time essentially where we will more than likely, as always, experience vivid dreams with the Pisces moon, but vivid dreams, very symbolic, very profound. And with the new moon phase, it's going to essentially highlight or illuminate like new pathways, right? And so we're getting that Eight of Cups energy where, yes, there's some heaviness, there's some melancholy, and at the same time we're setting out on this journey, right? Our path is expanding. And so with Pisces, we're going to be able to sense and tune into that pathway, but it's going to be more on like connected to our psychic senses, right? Like our, yeah. So you guys know what I mean with that. Um, and also, this is what we refer to as subconscious seeds. And so, with this new moon, if you really want to step into this lunar cycle with a very strong dream work practice or intention for your dream space, this is a really good time to do that. And yeah, so writing out your intention, and even if you don't have time to do it, tonight, like whenever you do it is perfect, right? Especially because the moon is going to be dark and we're in the Pisces season. So this is a really good time to just set those intentions while the moon is dark and, gaining light or waxing into that crescent moon. And at the same time, also just be aware that as we are beginning a new cycle and we are in this lunar cycle that is co-present with the North Node, there is more than likely going to be fears that might resurface, and just anything, like I was saying, like there's this surface level energy that's kind of like kind of nasty feeling or just heavy, like
Yeah,
that is kind of typical for like this new moon, right? Because we're in the darkness, where but also in the dream space, it's being illuminated to us.
absolutely.
And so that is, just something that you want to keep in mind. And on March 1st, which is going to be Saturday for most of us, there's a lot of activity in the dream space, because Neptune is making a lot of connections are being made to Neptune, Mercury, the moon. Also the moon is going to conjoin the North Node. And so that's going to be a really busy time. And I would say more so uh the 28th of February, so the night before.
Mm-hmm.
Expect your dreams to be kind of turned up, probably all for the whole weekend.
I'm
So I just want to give you
excited.
that insight. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm
Jace is
so
here. Jace says, greeting,
excited.
ladies and everyone. And as for dreams, it's been weird. I need to post last night's. Yes, definitely post. And you can, so yeah, another place you can share your dreams is on the Dreams and Astral Travel uh, on my website, uraniauniverse.com. And yes, you have to be a member, but it's also free just to keep that privacy. So feel free to post your dreams, and I tend to always interact with your posts there. So the first thing that I want to share and talk about is the collective consciousness. If you don't mind, Alexis, can we
Not
start
at
there?
all, please.
Yeah, and everyone just hang out with us, because we're going to, as you always do, but we're going to pull some cards at the end just to get some messages for the new moon. But yeah, I want to talk about the collective conscious type dreams. And so basically, collective consciousness dreams are when you have a dream that is not necessarily like it is about you because it's your role, your experience in your dream, right? Your psyche inserting itself into what is happening within the collective, like what is kind of at the forefront of our collective consciousness. And I had a dream, and this has happened before. I don't have these dreams often, but whenever I have a collective consciousness dream, I know right away. Like it's
Yeah.
like I tend to know in the dream, like I'm conscious enough in the dream, or when I wake up, I'm like, that's a collective consciousness dream. Like it's like
Yep.
my psyche just automatically tells me. And I don't know if that happens with, well, I mean, Alexis is nodding. So that
Oh,
definitely happens with
100%.
Alexis. And I don't know how, you know, if that, yeah, I don't know how many people that happens with, but I definitely get a heads up. And so I'm going to share my dream that I had that was, and I think this actually was my first dream that I entered that I felt like, then I got inspired to keep writing my dreams. Okay, so here we go. This dream felt like a collective consciousness dream. I was nearby an airport to meet a friend. This is just where we would regularly meet. I was sitting outside and I was at a coffee shop. So it was the patio. I was on the patio outside of the coffee shop, right? Which
Hmm.
happened to be like very close to an airport. And in dreams, like the perspective was weird. So while if it was in real life, I wouldn't be at the airport, but in the dream, it was like I could probably throw like a baseball and like hit the entrance of the airport, even though it
Yeah.
wasn't like that. Right. So, and I was sitting outside with my friend or waiting for my friend, and I happened to see an airplane crash into a nearby building. Half of it broke off. The front half landed in front of the airport entrance. The people in this half were alive. And I was curious if the people survived in the back half of the plane. But then I reminded myself that they probably didn't because there was a big explosion in the building. And therefore, I'm sensing that the back half was on fire. So everyone was in panic. And by this time, my friend had met me, like she was at the coffee shop. And so we then left the area. We were really distraught. And as we drove along a curvy mountain road, we saw another plane crash. We both had a feeling that this was intentional. The planes were crashing intentionally, and my friend expressed that she wouldn't be living in Colorado much longer, which is where we were.
Hmm.
She was excited to leave. Her and her husband bought a house in Texas. I arrived in my neighborhood and my friend was no longer with me at this point. It was clear the airplanes were crashing with the intention to kill people. We were told to keep an eye on the sky and watch for the planes. They were crashing into homes if they saw people in it. I awoke and I knew immediately this was a collective consciousness dream. I went back to sleep and then ended up in the same dream. Only this time, my mother, my grandmother, and my daughter, and maybe another child was there. I didn't remember that part. So, yes, I guess there was another child possibly there. The bulk of the dream, we were at a home, maybe mine at some point, and then later changed to an Airbnb. Next door, my cousin lived there with his wife and a few other people. Their plan was to hide in a spot in the house if they saw the planes coming through. This didn't make sense to me as the planes were crashing into the house, so they weren't likely to survive. My plan was to run out of the home the instant they aimed the plane towards the house. There was a time we saw a plane coming very close. We ran out and the plane was just landing so the pilot could go inside and get some refreshments. On another occasion, a plane came close and then jokingly went another way. I thought, how can they
Jokingly.
fly? Right? It was like, oh no, I'm just kidding, just fucking with you. Um, then I thought, how can they fly these planes like this? And then it hit me. It felt more analogous to a different type of aircraft. It felt futuristic. In the home we were in, it was more like a condo. Off the patio was a small pool. Um, there were panels that covered the pool, and the panels had Egyptian symbols on them. And that's what all I wrote. It's like I remember more, but I mean, yeah, I don't know if those details are important. But
Well,
I
right
would
off.
say,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Oh,
No,
I
you
would just
finish.
say like it was kind of anxious. And I told you this, Alexis, it was anxious. But at the same time, I was like, I felt in control and I was really focused on survival. So
Well, right off the bat, it's interesting because, of course, that collective consciousness right now is coming in really strongly because what has been happening nonstop is plane accidents. At least that's what they've been showing in the media, constant plane accidents. And then you also had, I don't know if it was this dream or another dream. Was it this dream of the planes or was it another dream of the planes that you had like a day before another one
this
crashed?
was the dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that.
So for context, so this was also a precognitive type thing. Like I was
Horrifying.
connecting to the collective consciousness. And yes, I had heard of the plane crashes, that have been happening. And it wasn't like it was a thing I was anxious about. I don't have any travel plans, at least not like anytime soon. And so I was like, that's crazy. That's scary. That's fucked up. But, I have other things to be anxious about right now. So it wasn't like it was like on the forefront. What was interesting and why I say this is precognitive or some aspect of it was because I think it was like 2 days later, I was talking to one of my friend Mary that's here regularly, and she had no idea the dream. I never share with her the dream. We were just having a conversation, and then she sent me this video and she was like, "Hey, did you see this?" Because she lives in Canada. And there was a plane crash in Toronto, which is near where she lives in Toronto area. And it was a plane crash where the plane had landed and the back of it caught fire, and like it ended up flipping over and everything. Everyone on the plane survived, which is funny
Thankfully.
because I'm so happy about that. But I thought that was interesting that I questioned that in the dream. And then I also, like, when I saw the video and she told me, I was like, I have to find out like if everyone lived. It was
Yeah.
so interesting. But yeah, and I just knew immediately. I was like, whoa, what are the odds? Especially because this plane actually landed. It was at the airport. And that was like a big deal in my dream where I was like, oh, well, the front half still made it to the
Yeah.
entrance of the airport. And so I thought that was really interesting. And then I think it was yesterday, there was I just randomly came across this one person, this comedian or whatever, on Instagram, and he was doing like a joke about airplanes. So then I went to his actual profile and I looked at, and there was another video about airplanes, but this time it was like the guy in his house, and he was like looking out of the blinds, like looking, like hearing airplanes and like making sure probably that they wouldn't crash into his home. And then I looked at the date, and I think it was for the 17th of February, which now, knowing the date of this, it was the day after I had my dream. So apparently that was heavy in the collective consciousness, which makes sense. I mean,
Oh,
people are
for sure.
traveling and it's been like kind of crazy, scary, and just out of the norm of how many plane crashes happen. I think it was like 4 within like a month. And so, yeah, and in the US and or in North America, I'm sorry. And so, yeah, I was like, wow, that was wild.
It
So
absolutely
that was
is
my dream
wild.
space.
Like having that dream and then having like like it's just like yeah, on one hand it's the collective consciousness, but on the other hand it's like what's going on? Why it's so stressful. That's the thing that's stressful for me about precog dreams is like you don't know that they're precognitive until it happens.
So yeah,
You don't know what's going to
yeah.
happen until the things start to begin and you get that deja vu feeling and you can predict the next thing that's going to happen. You're like, holy shit, I dreamt about this. Other than that, it's just like a hit. I had a dream the other night, and I was thinking about sharing this one, but the person in the dream had passed away, and I actually reached out to one of my friends and I was like, hey, is this person still alive? Like, is this person good? Because every
No.
now and then I just get like a little bit nervous that like what I'm dreaming
Yeah.
about is going to occur. And I
Yeah.
really shouldn't. Like, if it happens, it happens. I have no control over that. But
Yeah.
like, sometimes it just hits the wrong way, and you're like,
Were they alive?
oh, yeah. Oh, they're
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Oh, they're good.
Because I remember you telling me about the dream, but you didn't tell me that you reached out and like I was
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh,
I
is this gonna
I
like
reached out to my
anxious
friend.
dreams turned up?
Yeah, I reached out to my friend who is still friends with this other person. And it turns like in my opinion, the dream was just kind of like me letting go of this aspect of my life that no longer serves me. Which
Yeah,
makes
like
sense
we
because
talked
I
about
woke
that.
up
Yeah.
on my Saturn day, Saturn day, Saturn return day
Hmm.
with that dream. So it was kind of just like, here's like
Yeah.
closed door, like basically
Yeah. And that was our initial like
thought process.
prognosis,
Yeah.
yeah, interpretation of it. But it's natural because you're like, well, especially someone who's like a very like strong, like an avid dreamer, and you pay attention to all the things. And
Yeah.
so, and that's one of the scariest things for me. Like I'm like, I had a meeting with my when I got into this dream work. So the first time I got in, or when I really started to do it, I started getting like really nightmares and stuff, and I had to stop. And so when I got back into it, because I was like, I'm not grounded for this. And so when I got back into it, I literally had a meeting with my psyche, just a conversation. I'm like, look, I do not, can we make an agreement that I don't need to know that? Like, I
Yeah.
please, like, me, I cannot handle that. So keep that there.
And that conversation's so important because you have to give
It
yourself some
really
fucking
is.
breathing room to enter back into something that,
It
can be
really
very
is.
traumatic. Like when you have a nightmare, you're being traumatized by the experience within the nightmare. Like that's the biggest difference between an anxiety dream and a nightmare. Is like the nightmare, you're being traumatized, even if it's a tiny little trauma. It's still a
Mm.
trauma. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but no, that's crazy. And back to your dream though, like on a more personal level, I was looking at what airplanes kind of represent within the dream or can be interpreted as. And it can represent changes in our lives,
Mm.
growth and evolution, and the need to leave behind what no longer serves us. And plane
Okay.
crashes can represent feelings of fear, vulnerability, and danger. And I feel like with you right now in your life, you like we've talked about this before. You're kind of like entering a very personal and intense like
Mm-hmm.
path in your life, and I feel like that could really be representative of like, hey, you need to do this. It's gonna be
Yeah.
scary and it feels scary,
Yeah.
but like this is gonna be the best path forward for you.
Yeah. I've been getting that message on like repeat. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, like I said, the Eight of Cups, like that's been something that I saw literally this morning, my own reading. So I'm like, okay, I get it. And at the same time, I'm like, but there's like a lot that I need to just like,
Yeah.
so I'm like, be specific, like what part of my, and I feel like I know, like you always know, but then you're kind of like, oh, I'm not ready.
You know,
But
I
yeah,
know
but
it's the hesitation because the reality of the situation is when you embark on a new journey, you know it's going to be really, really fucking hard. There's going to be a lot of emotions, a lot of like old things that are going to come up that you maybe have pushed to the back of your like entirety and you don't remember as much. And these, whether they're uncomfortable or embarrassing or traumatizing or scary, all these things are going to come through. And you know that's what's going to happen. So you're hesitant to move forward. But it's like, I definitely have done that so many times and still do. I still
mhm.
do it nonstop. I mean, even just something as simple as looking at my bank account can feel like pulling my nails out. Like
Yeah,
it's something I have to do, but it's so scary.
yeah,
For some reason, it's so scary. But then I do it and I feel better and I move
yeah,
on. And like even if the
yeah,
results aren't great, like I know and
yeah,
I can kind of just
yeah. It's scary or
find base.
not knowing. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I would love to hear if any of you listening, watching, have you had any collective consciousness streams? Did you know right away that it was a collective consciousness stream? Like I said, it doesn't happen often. I feel the last time I had a dream like that was probably maybe a year ago. I know, Alexis, you and I were we were doing these chats. So, and I think you also, I don't know, but anyways, I shared the dream with like at least one or two other people, and it was like apocalyptic type dreams, which is usually how those collective consciousness streams come through with me and maybe
Mhm.
other people, as it's like, oh, it's like shit's going down, like it's the end of the world, like
Yeah.
we're at war, or like the aliens are here, like just some crazy shit. And it's like, what's going on?
It's always the same for me
What's
too.
going
When I
on?
have a
Yeah.
collective conscious dream, 9 out of 10 times it's apocalyptic. And I really do feel like it's what we're picking up on the strongest is the collective fear, the collective anxiety.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
it's really understandable because like
Yeah.
even though I understand the pendulum swings back and forth, we're never in going to be in one bad scenario. It's always going to change from good to bad and kind of balance the scales.
Yeah.
It doesn't make dealing with the bad aspects, the more intense aspects that are negatively impacting us, any easier.
Yeah.
And with what's going on, especially specifically in America, because if I'm being totally honest, there's so much going on in America. I don't have the space on my hard drive to even go outside of America right now. And I feel
Yeah.
bad because I'm generally someone who likes to be kind of aware of worldly matters, including what's going on in our country. But I have barely even been
Yeah.
able to take down what's been going on in America because it's been so intense.
Yeah.
So like these
Absolutely.
apocalyptic dreams, like I totally get it. I've been having them as well, and I'm just it's even I shared a dream. I think I shared this dream last week, but it was funny because even in the dreams where I do sometimes have those collective apocalyptic dreams, I kind of like roll my eyes and continue as if I'm going down the path of what the dream is supposed to be focused on personally, and just ignore
That's
the
smart.
explosions in the background, ignore the people
Yeah.
screaming in the
It's like,
background, and just
yeah.
continue forward to deal with what I need to deal with in my personal space.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother deep dive right there. It's a whole
Oh,
nother podcast episode.
yeah. Oh, for
But
sure.
yeah.
Absolutely is. It's just crazy.
So what do you have to share tonight as far as any dreams that stood out to you this month?
So I have a couple dreams, and I had my mind set on one, but of course I'm just like, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? Out of nowhere.
In
I guess I'll
typical
do
Libra
this one
fashion.
because there's a plane in it, so I might as well stick with the
Oh,
plane.
cool. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So this was on February 7th. And I believe this was the night that or this was the day that Neptune conjunct the North Node. Uh
Hmm.
it's the only thing I put in my journal so far that had any kind of transit. I don't know why I put it there that day,
Oh,
but I did.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, so last night I
This
had a
may have been
dream.
last week.
Oh,
Oh, sorry. I was just saying this
no,
may have been like last week or something.
it was
I
the
was just
seventh.
I'm thinking out loud. Oh, the seventh. Okay.
Yeah, so it was a couple weeks
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Last night I had a dream I was on a plane flying back home. The feeling was odd, unnerving, but somehow a hint of humor. There were four celebrities in my dream that were on the plane with me hanging out. They were cracking jokes and having fun. They talked about their kids and how they were excited to be home. We all phased into, for some reason, we all phased into my parents' house on the plane. And then the plane kind of like dissipated and it was like a plain house type of thing. Like it was a
Yeah.
weird thing. It was my parents' house and part of the plane, and then the plane kind of dissipated out. It was weird. But
And that feels like Neptunian,
yeah,
like
just very
dissolving of
like
like
fluid.
boundaries and like, yeah, very
Yes.
fluid. Yeah.
It was definitely like I remember kind of like existing in the space during this dream, and like the plane kind of becoming one with the home and then kind of just like dispersing, and I'm just like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
um so we chatted a bit longer, and then they decided that they were ready to leave. As they said this, I got a phone call saying that the river was flooding. I looked out the window and saw that the road was already covered in water and was not able to be driven on. I went back to the group and I explained the situation and directed them to drive down the road, and when they reached the stop sign, to go left, not right. It was the only safe route. Which doesn't make sense because at my parent, like if you're by my parents' house, when you're coming off of our dead end road, you get to the road where it's on the river. Um and
Mhm.
they are pretty level. Like I know there's like the roads kind of wave on both sides, but I pretty sure that if the river is flooded on one side, it's flooded on the other side too. But I don't know. In my dream, it wasn't.
Yes,
You go left and you're completely safe.
you're fine.
I then phased into a shopping mall. I was in what appeared to be a bonton. I looked at my clothes and they were tattered and dirty, and I knew then that this was a post apocalyptic world. There was a sense of danger all around. The environment around me was torn up and covered in blood and nature's growth. I was hiding behind a glass jewelry box. Something was approaching. I could feel it, and then I woke up. And real quick, I just kind of want to explain this like bonton. Like if any of you guys have been into a bonton before, it's kind of like dimly lit. There's like random patches of tile and carpet, and they're like clothes and stuff on carpet, and then on the tile there's like a big section of jewelry boxes right before you would get to the section that's like by the perfumes and makeup. So like in my dream, I was by where it's almost like a circle or an oval of these jewelry boxes for display, so you could get in the middle of it and kind of hide. I wasn't in the middle though, I was on the side, and there, if you looked around, parts of the walls were completely torn off. There was growth everywhere. There were people in the background screaming. You could hear shooting, and you could see blood all over the place. Like there was blood splatter everywhere. So I was hiding behind this jewelry case, which in essence doesn't really protect me because one, it's glass, two, it's see through. And if I'm feeling something coming, like I could feel the essence of something coming towards me. I couldn't see it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was human or other being, though it did feel like otherworldly. But I could feel it approaching, and I knew that I wasn't actually able to hide, and then I woke up. And it was a very interesting and bizarre dream to have. And
Did it
again, that
feel
the
like, did
plane
it
and
feel
postal.
scary? Like, did you feel fear in the dream, or like
I
what was
felt,
that?
I felt, I felt like I knew, like I was lucid, so I knew I was in the dream, and I felt this like ping of anxiety kind of going up and
Okay.
down my body, but I wasn't in fear. Like I wasn't
Right.
scared. I just like
Yeah.
I could
Like it
feel the
was anxious.
presence of
Yeah.
something emerging. I didn't know what direction it was even emerging from. And I just kind of like gripped onto this jewelry box that like was had blood splatter all over it, and just like was like preparing myself to face whatever was about to reach me. And then I woke up.
Hmm. Wow, that's so interesting. I'm thinking about like the first part of the dream was so like Neptunian and Piscean with like the flood, all of the water, and like how we are speaking about the transition. And I mean, but like it's so interesting how the vibes are really different. And I mean, I don't like of course I'm reading, I feel like I'm reading too much into it with what I was gonna say. I was
No,
like,
I
oh
I
well, like,
love when you read too much into it because it's usually not too much. It's usually
and we'll just say,
exactly.
yeah, we'll just say this is like a storytelling type thing where
Yeah.
it's like what I'm getting is that like the first part of the dream, it was like, yeah, you were traveling, you were journeying, and with the water, I feel like that was a way, also another way of traveling, but going through a portal, which would make sense with the Pisces energy and the North Node and Neptune, that it would be like the portal would be like this flooding of water,
Hmm.
except you went in a different direction, like opposite the flood, right? And so I just feel like it felt like traveling, and you ended up in a place where like you're in this world where this is going on.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you just kind of stepped into chaos. And because I
Yeah.
was thinking about it, where it was like what you're describing as we were talking about the apocalyptic and like the collective consciousness, and it almost felt like you stepped into another collective consciousness because of just the dynamic of what we're talking about. It felt like an astral travel type experience. And because it was just like the jarring switch of the dream where it's like, oh, they're shooting, there's blood, there's like
Yeah.
these bigger entities that from your perspective felt otherworldly, but
Yeah.
maybe in that realm that was natural, or that was normal, or that was whatever was,
Yeah, like I
terrorizing.
was
Who
in
knows?
the wrong space. They were in
Right.
mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, but there were some elements that were similar, right? Like you mentioned, the bonton, or like something that would exist here. And so I don't know, it just felt like these different dynamics of existence, of realities. And, the thing with Neptune is that Neptune's like role or intention, if you look at these planets as what are they providing as like guidance, or as some sort of lesson, like their goal. And with Neptune, it is dissolving our perceptions of reality. And
Mm-hmm.
by through that process of disillusionment, it will ultimately bring us closer to the divine within and without, right? But it
Yeah.
is dissolving layers of what we perceive as reality, right? Because
Yeah.
we don't really truly know. And especially with Neptune and Pisces, it's more of like a feeling and a sensational type of experience. And so I don't know, it just felt like a very Neptunian type dream. And of
Oh,
course you
absolutely.
you told me that Neptune in North Node had a conjunction. So of course I'm going to focus on that. But um
No, but that's
that's
why
kind of
we
what it
focus
felt
on these
felt.
things,
Yeah.
because we can wake up in the morning and write down our dream and then look at the transits and be like, oh, that makes so much sense why this occurred because of this that was occurring out there. I also want to say I have been translating my dream people. You have the different layers of dream people. I have been noticing more and more that the dream people who are generally fun and people that like I admire or like within the dream space who I like in real life, I'm realizing more and more that they are like this is going to sound so gross because I don't have another word for it right now, but basically like bodysuits for my higher self. Like I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like they're aspects of myself. Like it's like myself hiding in something that makes me feel more comfortable so that I can face certain things on my own. So I've been paying attention to like the dreams where I have specific celebrities in my dreams because of course
Mm-hmm.
they're not the celebrities in my opinion. They're a higher version of myself trying to reach me in a way that feels comfortable and approachable. Um
Yeah.
and I feel like with these other worldly feelings that have been creeping into my space too, I almost feel like it's trying to integrate like whatever it is that's communicating through my dreams that doesn't feel quite like me, that is used to being in like these bodysuits of people I admire in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been noticing in my dreams that there is a transitional period right now of these beings trying to approach me as themselves. And I had
Mm.
mentioned this in a dream
Interesting. Yeah.
I want to say like a month ago. I had mentioned I had a dream that I was in my workplace and there was this other being that I could see like and feel as being otherworldly who was trying to
Mm-hmm.
pretend to be human with me. But
Yeah, I remember that.
it was so bad at acting like a human, like it had no idea how to act like a human that I in my dream I knew I was like, you're not, I don't know what you are, but you're not human, you're not a dream person, like you're something else trying to be in my dream. So it's just been an
Yeah.
interesting experience
Yeah.
kind of like diving into that. And I'm sure there's some people who are like, you're fucking crazy, but it's when you experience these things in your dreams and you pay attention, you're able to point out what is a dream that you make up, like what's a dream,
Yeah.
what your head is making out, and what is outside of you.
Yeah.
Even just paying attention and seeing the collective unconscious, like
Mm-hmm.
that's outside of you. It's within you,
Yeah.
but it's also outside of you. But I've been having a very interesting experience, like getting under the carpet of like what is being exposed through my dreams and how they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this moment, as you're sharing this, I had this like aha moment that, because if you think about the collective consciousness streams, Whereas, like I mentioned, it's yes, it's a collective consciousness dynamic. Like you're in that greater consciousness field. And at the same time, it's my personal experience within that. And I'm really proud of myself because, like I said, I wasn't really in fear. Like, of course, there was like a healthy fear there, like what would be there in real life or in waking life.
Yeah.
And I love that I was very strategic. Like I was in control as far as like strategy
Yeah.
and like how do we navigate this? And I was like the protector of like
Yeah.
my mother, my grandmother, my daughter. And I think that's impactful in its own sense of like the, you know, feminine line or whatever that is, like the matriarch.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me feel really good. And as far as dream people, I think we should soon do a chat on that because the person that was the friend of mine that was in this airplane dream, I mean, we're cool. We talk every so often.
Mm-hmm.
But the last time we were really like tight was probably like 2018. Like she was a part of my women's circle. We did like some chats and like different things together spiritually. And then we kind of went and did our own thing.
Yeah.
And now she actually has moved, like she lives in Texas. And obviously I live in here in New York. But it's like I never really like we talk every so often on Instagram, but I never like think about her. It's not like I'm longing for her, but she's been in
Yeah.
my dreams like frequently. So I'm like recently, like she's pretty much every other dream. And so I'm curious um of like you were talking about how certain people that you admire like they show up as like higher aspects of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious of why this particular friend is showing up in my dreams and what that means because as I've talked to other people in my dreams, like it's not necessarily that person, yes, it's like an avatar or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
there is something there. And so I haven't been lucid in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I happen to be lucid, I want to talk to her, and see what happens. But I'm very curious. So we're definitely gonna have to do a chat on dream people very soon.
Oh, absolutely. And I when we talked about this before, like I had mentioned that I feel like it's almost like a calling
Mhm.
to reintegrate her if able and it works, but
Yeah.
reintegrate her into your life on this new path that you're taking.
Yeah.
I that's the calling that I'm getting from that is like also just she might be an important aspect in this part of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up here with some card pulls for the new season. I do want to just share here what Jace mentioned in the chat. So Jace says, as far I think it was in reference to the dream that you shared, Alexis, where he says the dream kind of reminds me of a dream where I got in between these walls. But as I moved inside the walls, I started seeing older stuff like 30s posters and decor. I found an old telephone that was rotary, and I heard a voice from the phone as a lady's voice, but I didn't know what she was saying to me. And it's a transference which boosts okay, I think that's from a different perspective or a different comment.
I love
Um,
that dream
but
though.
yeah,
Walking in
yeah,
between the walls and entering a new
yeah,
like that is I just I mean it's exactly as it is intended. You're moving through different realms or you're on a
yeah,
pathway to another place and there's so many
yeah,
aspects to these dreams that are just like I don't know it excites my heart and my brain because only you really know the answer to your own dreams. Only you really
yeah,
know what it represents, what it feels, because like I can talk up and down the wall of how I know when something outside of myself is within my dream space. And there can be most people who would be like, you're crazy, that's not real.
Right.
Like, well, I can't
Or
make
it's
you,
just a dream. It's just
yeah, it's just
like
a dream.
it's
It's like, well,
like
I can't make you feel or experience what I experienced. I also can't make you believe that it happened and that I know the difference, but it's my reality and this is what happened and that's that. Like it's crazy.
yeah. It is a wild, wild place to be.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. So, do you want to pull yours? Because you're going to do from your tarot. I'm doing
Yes.
from my oracle. So, I think do the tarot and then I'll wrap it up with the oracle just to get a little bit more clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably not gonna wait until one falls out because
Yeah, I'm not doing that either. So,
unless it
because
like
I want to get
does
one.
it
Usually
now.
it's like, it gives me like three, which is what I usually go for.
All right, I'm gonna pull off the top. Okay,
Pull off the
so
top.
this is what we have today.
It's the
Oh,
Eight of Cups. No, I'm just kidding.
I would actually, I totally would have believed you. Like, I didn't even really look at it fully,
Right?
and
You're
I'm like,
just
oh my
like, there
god,
you
is
go.
it really? I'm so stupid.
Right. What is it?
So
Let's
this
see.
is called the Avenger. So
Oh,
here's,
cool. Okay. Oh, it looks like Medusa.
isn't that? And this
Mm.
is a cool card because even though I pulled it in reverse, this the like uh the knight, the queen, and the king, and the other one, they don't have reversed meanings. The whole
Oh,
deck
okay,
does, but
cool.
these don't.
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
is the card. It's called the Avenger. I just think it's such a fucking pretty
I
card. Look
love
at
it. Yes. I love
that. Eyes
Medusa.
gazing at you. All
Mm.
right. So I believe this is an air card, and in my deck, it is considered. Yeah, so this is an air card, and it is considered the Order of Illusions. Um, so
Yeah.
let me go to the Avengers. So this is the Queen of um of
Swords, air.
Swords. I was like
Yes.
Queen of Air. This is the
What is
Queen of
air?
Swords in a regular deck, but in my deck it is the Avenger, the Visionary of Illusions. It is a Water of
Mm.
Air card. The keywords are retribution, justice, unrelenting pursuit, activism, hidden knowledge, and karmic balance. Okay, right off the bat, I'm like, yeah, that adds up. The Avenger's eyes of cosmic awareness peer through clouded skies, witnessing all. This card represents the force of righteous fury, the drive to right wrongs, and the pursuit of justice through intellectual and emotional clarity. The Avenger combines the fluid adaptability of water with the sharp intellect of air, embodying a powerful vision for change. Okay. I know, I'm like, just, of course. Associated with the water of air, the Avenger symbolizes the deep emotional undercurrents that drive intellectual pursuits and the clarity that arises from understanding these emotions. In readings, the Avenger calls for addressing injustices with both passion and wisdom, urging the
Mm.
seeker to harness their emotions and intellect to effect meaningful change. The archetype is a reminder that true justice involves both the heart and mind working in harmony. I love that
Mm.
card. I mean, especially talking about the collective unconscious and earlier just talking about how life always like kind of balances the scales. The pendulum's always swinging back and forth from good and bad, and it never stays stationary in one area. And I feel like this card is really a representation for all of us, the collective, to use our mind and our heart to make active changes within our own lives that'll have a rippling effect for
Mm.
everyone. You know, you really don't realize that your actions have an effect that ripples through many. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, if you are in a bad mood and you're nasty to someone, and then that person's now in a bad mood and they're nasty to someone else, you
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
it creates this effect. Well, just as easily as you can spread that anger, you can spread joy and love and be there for your fellow person, and you know, you have the choice to do what's going to have the best result. And in order for us to move forward as a community, as a whole, as a collective, we're going to have to come together. So I really feel like this card is really emphasizing the collective unconscious and the collective conscious here, and just saying, like, there is justice at the end of this road if we make the right choices and we use our heart and mind wisely. So
Yeah.
there you go.
No, that was on point. And when I thought about the Queen of Swords, that used to be my card. And when connecting with that card, I really felt that heavy, like my Aquarius, which isn't heavy, but just my Aquarius, where it's just like the Queen of Swords is very direct, very clear and to the point. And I think that's going to be really important for Pisces season because of like everything going on within our collective field. And just like you said, there's a lot even just in the United States. And it's very distracting. It's very heavy, fearful. And, you know, it's like being able, I feel like we're at our strongest when we can be empathetic, but like also like detached in a way. So I
Yes.
feel like being able to know, like being able to have like the wisdom and the clarity to discern that boundary. And so I think that's really important, especially with Pisces, because the feelings, the sensitivity is so heightened
So high.
that it's really important to have that Queen of Swords energy. And as far as like I think in the beginning it did mention something about intellect and emotions or something of that nature, like the water and the air.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that was coming through too for this new lunar cycle, is balancing logic with intuition. And I really see that with the astrological um, signatures happening. I'm not even going to get into that. If you want to know more about that, you can watch my cosmic climate, because
Yes,
I do
please
talk
watch your
about
cosmic climate. It's
I
fantastic
talk
every
about
single
that in
week.
detail, but I will spare you guys here because this is fate. I mean, dream, it's all connected, but
Well, real quick before you pull your oracle, I just wanted to
yeah.
say too, like, you know, I see this showing up, a good example, something we all experience is like being on the internet and seeing something we don't like and wanting to participate. And one of the things that I've
Yeah.
been doing is I see something, I get really like frustrated and angry because I'm like, how could someone say this? This is so insensitive. This is so fucked up. Why would they say this? And I will write out a whole response. And then I just, at the end of the response, I hit period and I go, Alexis, do not engage. And I delete it and move
Delete.
on.
Yeah.
And it's almost
Yeah.
like I get out the frustration,
Yeah.
but then
I've
I move
done that.
on
Yeah.
without having like the consequences of putting my
Yeah.
voice out there in areas where, like, a lot of the times what you're arguing with is a bot and it's literally just made to make you angry.
But also it's like it doesn't really, like, you don't feel better. Like it's like that instant gratification, but it's like not really fulfilling. Like
No,
it's very surface level. Because
it
I've been
is.
there, and I was the queen, not the queen, but like there was a period where people were talking about, astrology, and like, anyways, it was a whole thing, but it was like in the astrology community, because they're like, Western astrology is BS. And so I would be on there like, oh, this is like tropical astrology is really like, there's a lot of astronomy in it if you actually like study and know what you're talking about. And I would like just share, and I would give like, and I would do it in a compassionate way. I wouldn't be trying to like be like I'm a know-it-all, but I'm like, hey, if you look into this, like I can share resources. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, people are committed to what they believe, what they feel. And it's like, that's not the place, right? Like what we're
No,
doing
exactly.
here, like having this conversation, this is important because, it will find someone,
Yeah.
right? We're not, and so I've definitely been there, and I've definitely had that experience where I like write a whole thing and I'm like, I'm just going to delete this because at the end of the day, right now, something I ask myself, I'm like, is this life affirming or is this life negating? Like, is this going to fill me up?
Am I doing
Or
this for
is this
my
like
petty
draining my
ego?
energy? Right. And sometimes you got to be petty though.
Yeah,
That shit feels
sometimes
fucking
that, you know
good.
what, sometimes it's
But
okay to be petty, but like it really is choosing how it's going to affect you in the end. Like I've written things out and gotten into conversations with people, and I like don't feel good about it. One, because these people aren't changing their minds. You can
yeah,
talk up and down a
you're not going
wall
to change
about
it in
how
a
you
comment
feel,
section. Yeah.
and that's okay, because that's not my job to change somebody's mind. They're going to go through their experience, they're going to make their mistakes, they're going to backtrack, they're going to refine themselves, and whatever, hopefully. But it's not my
Yeah.
job as a random person on the internet writing on a post with thousands of commenters honing in on
Yeah. No,
it. Just doesn't make sense, and it's not good, and it's not
it's just,
healthy.
it's just draining at
It's
the end
like
of the
rage
day.
baity. Like you're
Yeah.
just getting worked up over something that literally you have no control over. Like you can have your opinions, and like I can look at something and be like, I don't agree with that, and then move on. It's just like
Yeah.
watching something on TV that you don't like. What do? Turn it off, or you go and yell at someone to take it off the TV, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
And that goes, yeah, that's again, a whole nother episode. All right. So when we were talking about the breakdown of the card that you shared, I had started shuffling and one just fell out. And I
Oh.
really like this because I feel like this is kind of leading us into what maybe should be the next episode. I don't know, but the oracle that we're receiving, and it's from my moon oracle deck, is the visitor.
Ooh.
So this deck, they have moon mansions in them, or cards that correspond to the 28 moon mansions, which is a Chinese what do you call it? Uh Paradigm, or yes, practice, or yeah. Anyways, words are not my friend. I'm sorry. But nonetheless, practice or perspective on like the moon orbits. And yeah, so there's astrology that corresponds to it. This one is Venus and Uranus, and you can't really see it on this card, but they give a certain window of the signs and degree points. And so this card corresponds to 17 degrees of Gemini until 0 degrees of Cancer. So it's basically Gemini Cancer energy. So that's standing out to me because it's the same, like the air, the water,
Yeah, the water of
right?
air card that I pulled, and the Gemini and
Yeah.
Cancer. That's so funny. I can't. I have no words.
Yeah. So the key phrase for this one is an unexpected relationship. And so here they describe it as a seated figure wearing a long yellow dress, looks pensively ahead to the left. Next to her, also seated, a strange green figure turns round to face us and touches the left arm of the first figure in a gesture of friendship. Each figure wears a garment decorated with symbols. In the background are black hills and there's a full moon. So traditionally, when the moon was located in this mansion, it was said to be a favorable time for lovers and friendships. It was also an auspicious time to make pentacles and cast spells to obtain the favors of the great ones. The card meaning is the pleasure loving Venus denotes comfort and security in relationships, while unsettling Uranus signifies sudden and unexpected events that move us out of familiar, tried, and trusted methods or routines. When these two planets conjoin, there are bound to be surprises all around and unusual occurrences, especially in the area of relationships. If you draw this card, it indicates that a new or unexpected social contact or relationship will be formed that has a bearing on the matter in a question. A hand of friendships will be or has been offered from a most unlikely quarter, aka your dreams, another realm within your dreams.
Yes.
This card can also signify an attraction to someone who is not the sort of person you would usually choose to socialize with. So
See, and that
take from
goes to
that what you will.
me like hand to hand with this card where it's talking about like The last,
Yeah.
I mean, my interpretation of it is like the last thing we need to be doing is pushing more anger and hatred and having more divide. And I feel like, you know, especially finding a friend in an like unexpected quarter, like that aspect to me is like showing your kindness to humans, not what they I don't even know how do I need to put like how I want to put, clearly words aren't going for me either, but it's that aspect of like pushing like presenting people with your kindness and your empathy, even if they're not people you would normally do that with.
Yeah. And not judging, people based on, their beliefs or yeah, just like asking, because I know it's a thing, I've seen it before, especially on social media or just in general, where people will ask you, do you believe in God? Right? Like a
Mm-hmm.
simple question like that seems kind of innocent, but it's like they're going to judge you on your answer,
They
whether it's yes or
are
no. You know what I
like,
mean?
and
And so
it's
it's like, yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah.
It's
And
very
it's like having
frustrating.
these like conditions basically on how you connect and how you engage. I think, yeah, I really get the sense of like that connectedness is really important. And that's really important to Pisces season,
Yep.
where it's like we're all one and we're all like, it's like the energy is all coming together to merge into like this oneness and this unconditional, energy or unconditional love. And that's what we should strive to connect with, because everyone's struggling in some capacity and no one has it all figured out. No one
No,
knows,
no one.
what the exact right thing is to do, or like we're all figuring this out together. And
Yeah. And
so,
we all are in our own worlds. We're all experiencing things differently. So to try to push on your beliefs and your standards onto other people when they're
mhm,
going through something completely fucking different, you don't even know what they're going through because that's not the question you ask. It's
yeah,
always kind of surface level, like let me see if your taste in music and your religion and your like whatever aligns with mine. Like
yeah.
it really, you have to go beyond the surface. I mean, it it takes guts to be gentle and kind. Like it really, you need to put in, it's very brave and strong for you to actually be gentle and kind towards people even if they're not showing it towards you.
And I just like, I've seen this card a few times and I just love it because, especially in the context of dreams, I feel that there could be also during Pisces season a spirit guide that is coming to connect with you, or maybe like
Oh, for
an
sure.
otherworldly being, because this being is foreign. In this case, it's a green figure. And so that is something that like we don't have green people here.
No, it's
So
like an
it seems like it's
otherworldly
something from,
experience.
yeah, yeah. And so it feels very Aquarius, it feels very Pisces. And yeah, so just be open. I think that was the thing too with this, is like being open to these really interesting experiences in the dream space and see where that guides you. And also, I think there's a subtle message here for Alexis and I that, yeah, we need to have a conversation about dream people. We need
Yes.
to
Yep.
experiment. And so maybe that's my dream intention for
Yeah, let's
this
experiment with the
Pisces
dream
season.
people
Yeah,
this week,
yeah. And then
this
we'll
season.
report back
Because I'm already
the
like
next
I can
time. Yeah.
already feel like an excitement, like my want to be more engaging with my, because I'm already pretty engaging with my dream people, but you know sometimes it can be very surface level, and
Yeah.
you know I'd like to dive deeper in and kind of feel out what it is that's there, what can be revealed. This card was also hidden knowledge, so
Yeah.
you know,
So
dream
there's some
work.
things to do. Yes, get to it. All right. Well, this was really good. I feel a lot better than
Me
what I
too.
felt when we started. So,
Me
which
too.
it was expected.
Yeah, it's always the same thing. We always get off this chat. We're like, that was so
Yeah.
good. This was so fun. I feel better.
So, thank you everyone for being here. Again, Dream Circle every Tuesday night. You can find the link, the registration link in the description of this video. And any questions you have, of course, feel free to reach out in the many different areas we have shared with you. And yeah, we will chat with you all next week, same time, same place. Any last words, Alexis, before we head out?
No, pay attention to your dream space.
Pay
Try to
attention to those
engage with your
dreams.
dream people. Um, be kind, be gentle, share that love. You know, it is the season, Pisces season. It's all about love. Um, yeah, that's all. And I hope you have a wonderful week.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Night.
All right. That was great.
That was
We had
fantastic. I'm gonna
eight